Almost 2 years ago, we began building mountain bike trails on Berm Peak. Or should I say, mountain bike features. Features like the Snake Pit Skinny, the Pucker Pad, the Driveway Jump, the Drama Drop, the Teeter Cannon, and so much more. These features are what make Berm Peak anything of note. The trails themselves are almost a byproduct. And while we have built some notable stretches of single track, a lot has been left on the table given what we could build here. But when I broke my ankle back in October, trail and feature building came to a complete halt. And I had time to plan and reassess.
Hey, stop eating rabbit poop.
What I decided to do would be invasive, have irreversible effects on my land, and involve a steep learning curve. I've been scared to do this for the better part of 2 years, but it's time. The project is codenamed Thumb Bucket, and we've been preparing for it since midwinter. And by we, I mean Kevin. As my recovery grew more complicated, I got worried about losing momentum. So, I hired Kevin. He was my arms and legs for the better part of the winter. And honestly, I'm not so sure I would have done as good a job as he did. He flagged and cleared what we discussed, and even made executive decisions where necessary. Now that I'm walking again, I can finally check out what Kevin did back here. Oh. Good old Kevin left a wheelbarrow upright with my chainsaw chaps out in the rain, but what are you gonna do? The new trail has opportunities for road gaps, features over features, and some seriously bermed out switchbacks. It looks like Kevin brought our vision to reality, and more. But to turn this field of stumps and off-camber turns into the trail of our dreams, we need to kick things into high gear. And by high gear, I mean walking speed. Don't get too excited. It's a rental. We'll want to switch to different size machines throughout this project, and so renting makes sense for now. The last time we had an excavator on Berm Peak, it was to build the gravel forest road at the bottom of the property, and it was James at the controls. Now, it's me. And here lies the aforementioned steep learning curve. Before we start building the single track, I'm extending the forest road the full length of the property. Since the forest road portion is wide and relatively featureless, it'll be my training exercise. Everyone learns differently, and I tend to learn by watching and doing. But doing this is ugly. Even with an experienced operator at the helm, machine cutting can look gruesome, especially to a nature lover. But then again, making a chicken sandwich is gruesome depending on how far back in the process you go. So keep in mind that most every beautiful nature trail you've hiked or ridden once looked like this. This path will eventually get cleaned up, tamped, and made to look like the forest roads you're probably used to seeing. But as I learn to use this machine, I'm making a mess. Machine cutting in wet clay is something I should have never attempted in the first place. And now I'm one day wiser. Something horrible has just happened. I had my GoPro backpack on the back of the seat, because it would never fall off of there. It fell off and I ran over it with the excavator. It's not that heavy of an excavator. Everything in it, including my Gorilla Pod, is completely crushed. So I'm gonna have to let this dry off for a few days, start scraping it off, see what survived. Oh. Backpacks aside, the ground finally did dry up. In 5 hours in, 10 hours in, 15 hours in, and I was becoming one with the machine. So it's been a couple of days using the excavator, and I'm starting to learn how to use it more fluidly. So I want to show you what I've learned. I cannot stress enough how much this is not a tutorial. What this lever over here does is it lowers and raises the blade. The blade you can use for grading, and you can also use it to just stabilize the machines. These two operate the tracks on either side. So if I pull them both back, the machine moves backwards. If I push them both forwards, the machine moves forwards. Now if I want to turn, it's going to skid. This joystick over here operates the entire arm. So if I push it down, it moves the entire arm down, and if I pull it back, it moves the whole thing up. Now you can see there's an elbow over there, there's a bend. I can use this to move that in and out. If you move this stick to the left or right, it rotates the entire machine. So I can actually go over here, grab something, dump dirt in different spots. This right stick, if I move it to the left, it moves the bucket up. If I move it to the right, it moves the bucket down, so you can dump something. That is called the thumb, and you can always remember what control uses it because it's the thumb control right over here. When Kevin went and cleared this trail, he cut the laurel so that there was a big stem sticking up, so we can actually pluck them out of the ground. One of the things that I have to do when digging this trail is get rid of this top layer that's made of organic material. As we ride it, that's gonna rot away and it's gonna mess up all our features, so we wanna get down to the clay. And we can just scrape that piece up like a big old piece of carpet. Once we tamp this and add some gravel to the start, I should be able to drive back in on a smaller machine without messing up the tread too much. But we're not quite done here.
So after we go ahead and get that backsloping done, we're gonna do what's called renaturalizing. We're actually gonna take the leaves, blow them onto the trail, clear the path, so it fills in all the fresh dirt for it to look like we were never there.
Kevin is hand finishing this road. That's what it's called. He's cleaning up the backslope and renaturalizing the trail. That's a fancy word for blowing leaves onto the edge of the corridor to cover up the machine work. After a little while, this happens on its own, but it's nice to finish with something presentable. So this is after a massive rain with serious flooding. The whole river overflowed and everything, but our trail is fine because we outsloped it. This forest road will not only give us a way to pedal out and back to the top, but also provide gator and machine access along the entire length of Berm Peak. Next time, I'll be pushing my new machine skills to the limit as we make our way into the single track. We'll be trading in this machine for a much smaller one, and trying to keep the bench as narrow and precise as possible. If you want to see Thumb Bucket Trail to completion and watch us ride it, make sure you subscribe to Berm Peak. We're also building an entire free public bike park with the help of professional trail builders, and a mountain bike vacation rental that even you will be able to book this summer. I hope you'll come along with us on these projects. Thanks for riding with me today, and I'll see you next time.